is long. You stand by me. And darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. If the sky we look above should tumble down, fall, if the mountains should crumble to the sea, oh, I won't cry, oh, I won't shed a tear. This is long. She stand by me. Lord, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. And Lord, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me.
All right, Greg, thank you so much for coming out at this hour and sounded so great. Thank you so much. Wow. He told me he didn't go to sleep, so it's okay. Wow, well, good morning. Welcome back. You did it. You walked through the night. 16 miles. And you brought our message of hope to the streets of Dallas. All right, what a beautiful walk it was. You know, what you've done says we will not forget. We're not going to forget those we've lost, those who struggle with depression, bipolar illness, PTSD, other illnesses of the mind. And because of you, there's hope, and they will not die by suicide. And what you've done is remarkable because collectively you have raised $1.4 million. Now, with a little more fundraising, we could get that to $1.5 million, so I hope you'll continue. And I can't begin to tell you how grateful we are. And I can't begin to tell you how many people you have touched by this walk tonight, how many lives you will have saved because of walking. The people you've helped and the lives you've saved, well, you know, they include some of the walkers. And I want you to join me now in welcoming one of those fellow walkers, Jake Sweat. Jake?
Hello everyone. I hope everybody's legs are okay. Better than mine. It's a real honor to be up here and be able to talk to all of y'all. Like, not long ago, telling my honest story to a random group of people in the middle of the night was totally impossible. But just like so many of you, I've come a very long way to be standing here with you tonight. It all started with isolation. I was a regular kid growing up in Garland, which is just outside of Dallas. And as I grew older, I became more isolated. I isolated myself from my mom, who was a single parent, who was dealing with depression and bipolar disorder, but it was misdiagnosed and the treatment she was receiving wasn't really working. From my dad, who I began to see less often when he and my mom split up when I was about 6. And then from everybody around me, pretty much. Even though I put on like a good disguise at school and with my friends and stuff, nobody knew really what was going on. I was kind of self-doubt, really no self-esteem. And I just had the idea that everything that went wrong was my fault. In high school, I abused drugs and alcohol. I don't really know that it made me feel better, but it kept me from feeling, so that's why I did it. I floated from one life moment to another, and nobody really knew what was going on inside me. I kept my true self hidden from my wife, somebody I'd known since 7th grade. And after 8 years of being together, my isolation pushed us far apart, and we were basically strangers living in the same house. After all of the isolation, she couldn't continue to just be the only one fighting in the relationship, and we split up last August. By September, I was in a really bad place. I was having panic attacks so severe that they sent me to the ER. And like my mom, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. The panic attacks caused so much pain mentally and physically that I just wanted it to stop. But I never thought that I would try and take my own life until I actually did. I swallowed a bottle of prescription, and luckily a friend of mine had texted me not too long after, and from my basically illegible responses, she knew that something was wrong, and she called 911. They rushed me to the hospital, and I spent the weekend in the psych unit. If there's one thing I learned from recovering from my suicide attempt, it's that our medical system and our society are so absolutely just awful at identifying and treating psychological issues and mental illness. At the hospital, my treatment wasn't much more than checking off boxes and just refusing to change the antidepressant that I asked them to take me off of because I felt like it was having negative effects. I went 24 years without talking about my mental illness because I was scared about what people would think. And most of all, I was scared for people to see me as weak, and that silence almost cost me my life. Those realizations brought me to another, one that I didn't expect, that I could maybe do something to help change things for the better. After my attempt, I spent a month in an outpatient clinic, and that's made all the difference. I learned a lot about emotions and feelings and realized I'd never really learned to express them properly. I spent a month with the same people every day who were struggling with serious issues, but they were talking about it. I learned that it's okay to ask for help, and nobody can do this alone. I actually had the chemical compound for serotonin tattooed on my arm, hoping that maybe somebody would ask me about it and I'd be able to be open about my struggles, and that might be what that person needed to see that it's okay to talk about it, and it might make a difference for them. I'm really fortunate that I found the overnight. It's the opposite of isolation. It's the definition of community and support and openness. Just a week into my fundraising, I just befriended a girl in New York from an Instagram picture that I posted, and I actually walked the entire route with her tonight. The overnight is about telling stories, eliminating silence, and trying to remove the stigma, because the stigma surrounding the mental illness is just as dangerous as the illness. I started the walk last night not really knowing anybody, but I crossed the line feeling appreciated and understood and loved. Thank you all for sharing your stories, for walking to end suicide, and for taking a stand against it. Together we are stronger than the disease. Together we can save lives just like mine and many other survivors who have gone through the darkness and come out the other side. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake, for your honesty, for your openness, and for everything you're doing to help others as you help yourself. And we are so glad that you are with us tonight and will be with us always. Thank you. Thanks, Jake. Jake's story is one of many about recovery and becoming a leader in the fight to prevent suicide. And this overnight exists to honor the lives of those we've lost and to celebrate the lives of those like Jake who bring us hope for a future and a day when there will be no suicide. Now later today, after a well-deserved nap, you will find yourself back in your normal routine, familiar surroundings, and it may be difficult. But if it is, I hope you'll remember tonight the people you met, the walking through the streets, the talking about this all night, the openness, the community, as Jake said. And I hope you'll draw strength from it, and it'll light the way for you. Please, don't forget what you've experienced tonight. It will save lives. I thank you so much for walking tonight. I thank our crew for crewing. Let's hear it for our crew. They were great. I thank our volunteers. We could not do this without our volunteers. I thank you so much. And I thank you all for donating. It does take money to fight this. So I thank you. I thank you for asking people to support you. And last and most important, again, I thank you. We will obtain our 20% by 2025 because of what you're doing. I thank you for being with us. And I hope you'll continue your journey. And I hope you'll walk again in an overnight, a community walk, work in your community, join your chapter, get involved, stay involved. We will be holding overnights in 2 more cities. I hope you'll sign up tonight. Now, last evening, there were 9 luminaria on this stage. And when you walked in from the walk, those 9 were joined by 1,000 more. And together, they will light the way for us to create change here in Texas and throughout our country. Those luminaria, in a way, are the heart and soul of a movement which won't allow suicide to be ignored anymore. And they will lead the way to accomplishing our goal, 20% by 2025. Now soon, the city of Dallas will be waking up, and it'll be a new day. And as the sun rises, we will extinguish the luminaria, but I promise you, we will never extinguish the light we've created, a light of 1,000 stories of hope and of healing. Light that is bringing this out of the darkness. I thank you for walking tonight. I look forward to walking with you again in the future. Have a safe journey home. Thank you so much.
Stand